Episode 1. In the opening episode of Yaojo Senki, the Francois Republic and the Imperial Army get involved in a fierce battle near the Rhine River. Second Lieutenant Tanya Degurechaff is in charge of the 3rd Squad of the Imperial Army's 205th Assault Mage Company, which includes Corporal Victoria Salaryman. When Tanya's 2 wizards violate her commands and she has to move them to the back, tensions grow. The Republicans strike a severe hit to the 403rd Combat Magic Company as they advance to reinforce it. Tanya takes control of the situation and gets rid of her disobedient squad members. Tanya gains the terrifying nickname Devil of the Rhine among Republican soldiers as a result of this deed. In the meantime, senior commanders talk about Tanya's exceptional and powerful skills. Tanya is described as a monster in the form of a girl by Lieutenant Colonel Rurujin, who is based at Imperial Strategic Headquarters in Berun and expresses concern regarding her deployment to the Rhine. The disobedient magicians she had moved to the back met their dreadful end. The episode shows the brutal struggle for survival and power that Tanya faces in a world full of armed turmoil. Episode 2. A dejected Salaryman encounters an unusual fate in Tokyo in 2013. He meets Being X as a self-described divinity after his supervisor pushes him in front of a train. An unusual choice results from the supervisor rejecting Being X's divinity. To put the supervisor's trust to the test via hardship, Being X reincarnates him into a different 1913 Europe. Tanya, a little child, is raised in a small Berun orphanage on this new planet. She joins the Imperial Army in an attempt to flee her lowly life after realizing she possesses extraordinary magical ability. Tanya does a great job doing her military tasks, but her superiors are not happy with her harsh training regimen. Even though she is seriously hurt, 9-year-old Tanya is assigned to delay an enemy mage company while serving as an artillery observation during an Entente invasion in 1923. Tanya returns to garrison headquarters and is awarded the Silver Wings Assault Badge, but she is hoping to stay out of conflict. Rather, she is hailed as a hero throughout the Empire, which paved the way for her unconventional military career. Episode 3. After recovering, Tanya is glad to be back from the front lines and joins the Strategic Instructor Squad. She pushes the limits of the unstable Elenium Type 95 computation gem through testing and concludes that it is unsafe. Tanya's transfer is granted when she critiques the technology and makes a transfer request. The project is then put on hold. Tanya encounters Being X in a strange dream that night, which culminates in a confrontation. She wakes up, thinking it was merely a dream, only to see written on her bedside, Deus Lo Volt. When Tanya requests to be with Being X, whom she sees as a curse in another experiment, just as the Type 95 is about to blow up, Being X steps in and stabilizes the jewel, making it useful to Tanya alone. This increases Tanya's strength. After being transferred back to the front lines the next year, Tanya finally suggests that Victoria be trained as an officer. Each gets ready to head back to Berun for their officer training. Future events in the story are put in motion when headquarters realizes that the Imperial Army needs a swift reaction unit. Episode 4. After 6 months of officer training, Tanya achieved success. She meets with General Zetter in a library, where she impresses him with her strategic brilliance by predicting a global conflict and arguing in favor of an agile, mage-focused strategy to reduce military casualties. Tanya sees this as a chance to further her career when Zetter asks for a report. Later, Tanya takes advantage of Captain Uger's worries about his family and how the war would affect his daughter to coerce the competing student into quitting the academy and joining a safer role. Tanya is now certain of her place among the top students at the academy. General Kurt von Rudersdorf receives Tanya's plan from General Zetter and delivers it to a session in the Imperial Strategic Headquarters. Tanya gets approved to organize a swift-moving mage battalion. Meanwhile, back at the Western Theater garrison, Rurujin is furious that Tanya will command the new unit since he considers it to be more dangerous than direct fighting. Tanya's attempt to postpone the formation of the battalion is frustrated when Victoria is assigned to help her. Reluctantly accepting the promotion to captain, Tanya is now charged with commanding a 48-man rapid reaction mage battalion, a position she believes will prove much riskier than her previous missions. Episode 5. Tanya is tasked with choosing mages for the newly formed 203rd Aerial Mage Regiment. She drops her requirements in an attempt to attract more recruits, but she promises to raise everyone's magic level in a month. Tanya sets strict training in an attempt to avoid less competent applicants, but many continue because they are afraid of the severe repercussions if they withdraw. Some even aim to live up to Tanya's high standards. Surprisingly, the wizards are converted into proficient soldiers within a month, exceeding Tanya's expectations. Orders are given for the 203rd to move to the Grand Duchy of Dacia, where they find themselves up against a far weaker foe who lacks wizards and employs outdated strategies. The elite 203rd easily repels the Dacian attack, resulting in severe Dacian deaths. Tanya decides to put the battalion to the test by traveling to Dacia's capital. There they discover an armaments facility backed by the Republic, undefended. To destroy it, they must first reveal their plans under international law, risking reprisal. With a childlike voice, Tanya deftly announces her intentions, which the workers at the plant take for a joke, allowing the 203rd to destroy the factory. Required of their victory, they head back to base. Episode 6. While destroying the Entente will be Imperial headquarters' top priority, running out of supplies is a worry. Tanya and Victoria speculate a hypothesis later verified that the Entente might side with the Republic and the Allied Kingdom. Tanya believes that to force her to worship, Being X is planning a world war. Viper Battalion faces off against Entente soldiers in Norden and is severely outmatched. In time to save them and mount a counteroffensive, the 203rd arrives. To build the 203rd's reputation, Tanya declines more reinforcements. She meets an alive Being X and defeats it by focusing on enemy bombers. Republican mage losses and Entente failures are reported to General Pierre Michelov Lugo in Parisy by Lieutenant Colonel Zevran Bayantot. Seemingly swayed by Being X, Lugo is adamant about dispatching additional Republican sorcerers to back alliance. Anson Su rises to the position of colonel in the Entente Ministry of Defense, but he struggles with the thought of abandoning his wife and daughter, Mary Sue. As the anime progresses, the complex interactions between conflicts and the impact of Being X mold the developing struggles. Episode 7. With a present from his daughter, Colonel Sue heads for Ors Fjord, far from the front lines. Tanya makes the strategic retreat suggestion during the Imperial Army Northern Theater Command's strategy conference to restock the Imperial soldiers, reduce supply lines, and get ready for a more potent spring onslaught. An offensive is ordered after her plan is rejected. Tanya discovers during a talk with Warujan and Rudersdorf that the offensive's real goal is to draw attention away from an impending Imperial amphibious assault. The mission is to surprise the North Sea Fleet by attacking the fiercely guarded Ors Fjord first. The 203rd is up against Colonel Sue during the assault. While Tanya's 2nd and 3rd companies take out enemy wizards, the Imperial troops can take control of the port and railroads thanks to the destruction of coastal guns. After suffering severe losses to Sue's magic, Tanya finally bayonets him before taking his weapon. When Mary Sue and her mother discover the defeat of the Ors Fjord's defenders in a post-credits scene, Mary breaks down in tears. The compelling plot is shaped by the way the war is developing and Tanya's tactical skills. Episode 8. Bayantot and the 2nd Mage Company of the Republican Army back a rebellion in Aran City, a former Republican territory in the Western Theater. Rebels have commandeered a vital railway, putting pressure on Imperial supply routes. It is mandated by the 203rd to put an end to opposition, even if it means killing civilians. Strategy Command's rapid suppression of the uprising is prompted by the fiercely guarded city. Torn Republican wizards take sanctuary in a structure following a vicious attack. After executing an Imperial soldier who was taken prisoner, they cause a casus belli by refusing to give up or flee. Continually bombarding Aran with Imperial artillery, civilians are killed. Imperial rule returns after the Republican magicians are driven from power. Tanya presses 2nd Lieutenant Voran Grants to begin fire. Zetter discloses that Tanya's thesis served as motivation for the city's demolition, enabling the violation of international bombardment regulations. Driven by a holy quest to slay the devil, Tanya, critically wounded Colonel Sue, slowly recovers in an Allied Kingdom hospital. The tale becomes more complex as the web of conflicts and their effects get more intense. Episode 9. After the Battle of Aran, Tanya receives news from Major Uger about an operation known as Operation Revolving Door. By pulling Imperial forces off the Rhine in 4 stages, the operation seeks to trap Republican forces. Zetter outlined the strategy at the Command Strategy Conference, aiming to hit the rear of Republican forces with the 203rd. In the first phase, Operation Fog and Sun, The Empire launches a disinformation operation to trick the Republicans into thinking that the Empire is on the verge of a massive retreat. Tanya is briefed by Rurujin on the second phase, Operation Shock and Awe, which aims to destroy Republican communication and command centers. Shujal also presents the V1, a fast rocket that the 203rd will use to get to possible enemy headquarters. Concurrently, at the Rhine, Republican forces are boldly brought forward as Imperial troops retreat from the front. The Republicans are unaware that the Imperial Army had eliminated numerous booby traps during their withdrawal, which is going to establish the conditions for a complex and planned conflict in the operation's later stages. Episode 10. Surviving. Sue plans his retaliation against Tanya while sailing on an Allied Kingdom vessel. The 203rd executes Operation Shock and Awe with success and uses a submarine to withdraw. Government authorities are questioning the Imperial High Council about their withdrawal plan, claiming it exposes Imperial facilities. They do not reply until Tanya's team reports on their situation, informing the decision-making process that the enemy's command structure has been destroyed. Zetter begins the third stage of Operation Lockpick. Republican losses were severe because of the Imperial Army's fleeing traps. Republican military personnel are bewildered due to a breakdown in communications, which allows the Imperials to encircle and launch a relentless counterattack. Iantod is appalled to see the Republican Army's headquarters in ruins while looking into the communication breakdown. In the fourth stage of Operation Revolving Door, the 203rd picks up the last of the Republican soldiers. They are suddenly attacked by a Sioux-led long-range weapon-wielding mage force from the Allied Kingdom. The conflict between the two different parties intensifies the mystery surrounding them. Episode 11. Rather than withdraw, Sue uses a trench cannon that has been magically improved. Tanya is pursued by Sue, and during their fight, she bayonets him. He is possessed by being X, but she recognizes him from their last meeting, so he grabs her. Victoria steps in and helps Tanya get away. Tanya breaks through Sue's magical defenses by throwing the full magazine at him. Desperate and wounded, Sue sets off an explosive device. The Allied Kingdom wizards are chased away by the arrival of Imperial soldiers after Tanya and Victoria survive the blast. The 203rd survives the encounter for the most part. Republican soldiers leave Parisy after Operation Revolving Door, enabling Imperial occupation. The colonies of the Republic and congratulated the armed forces on their accomplishments. Tanya and Victoria talk about the end of the war while the troops of the 203rd rejoice on a Republican beach. Tanya believes the Republic is planning to launch a maritime counteroffensive. When her desire to strike the Republican military port of Brest is turned down, she is unable to carry out her reconnaissance. She feels frustrated by this lost chance as the conclusion of the conflict approaches. Episode 12. Tanya informs Rurujin that she knows the fighting will undoubtedly resume as the Empire rejoices over the ceasefire. Due to the Empire's explosive expansion, the United States, the Russian Federation, and the Allied Kingdom band together to create an alliance opposing the Empire. General Lugo declared the birth of the Free Republic from Tunis, thus declaring the end of the war. Tanya is dispatched to fight the Free Republic in Africa with her team. Tanya opposes being X, claiming that the conflict is proof that God failed and that man, particularly soldiers, now can mold humanity. A new chapter in the fight begins when Mary Sue, using being X's ability, enlists in the US Army in the United States to exact revenge on her father's killer. Tanya's continuous defiance of being X and the start of the conflict take the front stage.